This system is foolproof, and if you have failed in the past or are relatively new to exercise, this is actually going to be quite a fast result for you. You'll feel more energy, more confidence than ever, and you really will probably have to buy new clothes. We're going to go over the movement and exercise side of things in part 1. We're going to go over the diet in part 2, and then how to stick with it and get back on the horse in part 3, because keeping this going, that's really going to be the key for you. I've been a trainer for 10 years, and I've helped hundreds of people lose weight, so I know you can do it too. Okay, so part 1 is going to be exercise. We have to get your movement up and get your calorie burn up. If we can work on both sides of the equation at the same time, that's what's going to give you the fastest results. A lot of people will focus only on the exercise or only on the diet, and that certainly is a way you can do it. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to be a way of failing, but for the purposes of this video and trying to accelerate fat loss, we're going to try to work on both sides of the equation. So with exercise being the primary thing that is going to increase our calorie burn, it's not just exercise, it's also going to be NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And my favorite way of doing that, of increasing your calorie burn outside of exercise, is simply with steps. Now we're going to get into cardio and stuff as well, so don't worry, we're going to get there. But steps are going to be the base of what is going to burn the most calories throughout the day, besides your basal metabolic rate, which is just the amount of calories that you would require to just simply live and exist. That's going to be 50% of the calories that you are going to be burning, throughout the day. So that's just given to you, if you will, kind of based off genetics and how much muscle mass you have and everything. We're going to get to the muscle mass. But 25% of the pie, which is the next biggest chunk, is going to be your activity outside of exercise and other than the calories it takes for you to simply live. The best way by far of doing that is increasing your steps. So typically with clients, what I have them do for a week is track their steps pretty meticulously on their phone or a step tracker. The step tracker that I use, oh my gosh, I don't have it in my pocket right now. What a hypocrite. It's if you look on Amazon, you just type in pedometer. It's really cheap. It's $20 for 2 of them or something like that. Maybe it's $20 for one, but it's super accurate. It's just a little thing that gets clipped onto your pocket. You can even put it in your pocket. And that's a really good way of tracking your steps, because I find that people hold their phone, while they're walking too much, and I don't trust that that's going to 100% be accurate. I've actually done a lot of tests on this myself. I should actually do a video about that. But I've done some tests on this with the phone, with the pedometer, and with a lot of these smartwatches that aren't really smartwatches, not like an Apple Watch or something. And nothing is as accurate as this pedometer. Now, the Fitbits and the Apple Watches, I think those are pretty accurate. But this pedometer is super cheap, so if you don't have one of those, that's the way to go. So after I have my clients tracking for a week, I'll simply have them increase their calories by 1,000. But for you in this video, I'm going to have you start off 10,000 right off the bat. That is going to be your non-negotiable, get this done, get 10,000 steps every single day. And that's really going to help you increase your calorie burn. Most people aren't getting anything near that. Now, if you find, let's say you have a really active job or whatever, let's say you find it super easy to get 10,000, then go for 12,000. I mean, the most I would have a person doing, if they're not really used to it, is probably someone 12, 13,000. Make sure you're used to that. It's not hurting your feet or hurting your joints or anything. You could go as high as 20, but that starts to get kind of impractical. And, I'm not sure how much it's going to help. But for now, aim for 10,000 and go as far as you can into that. And whatever seems normal for you, let's say it's 12,000. Then just keep on getting 12,000 steps. Your non-negotiable thing is your steps. Now, steps are great, but we want more. Especially for the purposes of this video, we want speed. And so we're going to have to add in some cardio. So steps are not, although they are the foundation, they're not going to get you results as fast as the rest of this plan will. So let's talk about your workouts. Now, this is going to help you achieve your steps. And I love how it kind of goes together. It's almost like I don't have to add anything to my plate right here because, no pun intended on the adding something to your plate. You're simply just going to be doing cardio, 4 to 5 days a week. So the 4 to 5 days a week that you're doing cardio, if it's walking or cycling or something, you're going to be acquiring those steps as well. It's just that portion of your steps. Let's say you walk for 40 minutes and that, totals out to, something like 2,000 steps. If that is, those 2,000 steps are going to be more intense. They're going to be higher calorie burning. So if a higher percentage of your steps throughout the day are actual exercise, which I know kind of defeats the non-exercise part of the non-exercise activity thermogenesis, but still, who cares? You're burning extra calories. And so with that extra calorie burn, this is going to help you lose weight even faster. It's also extremely important that we are weightlifting. And so obviously all my clients that work with me, they lift weights. That is to spare their muscle mass. That is the biggest purpose of weightlifting. You have to give your body a reason to keep the tissue that is on your body that is taking calories. If you are eating in a calorie deficit and you're moving a whole bunch and you have this tissue on your body, your muscle, that isn't really being used, your body is definitely going to use that for energy. Maybe not solely, but it could be as high as like 50%. So let's say you lose 20 pounds. You don't want 10 pounds to be muscle loss. You will be skinny fat by the end. You will not like your shape. It is not going to be good. So we've got to keep our muscle mass, and that's why this is such an important point. And weightlifting is really going to help you do that. Now, there's another side of the equation, and that's with the diet side of things, and that's what we're going to talk about now. If you get the workout side of things right, you're going to be burning a lot of calories. You're going to be keeping your metabolism high so that by the end, you don't have to eat like a bird. That is so key. But without the protein, without the diet in check, it's just not really going to matter. So let's talk about that next. So like I said, your calorie burn being higher, that is going to be so key. But we all know and we've all heard that you can mess up any exercise plan with a bad diet. And that is true. I want to hit on that real quick because I also want to encourage you that it's not like as true as some people make it sound on social media. Yes, if you go do cardio and you burn 300 calories, it is so easy to consume 300 calories. And so people will come to the conclusion, at least on social media, that, exercise is not good for weight loss. Exercise is out for weight loss. It's all about the diet. And although there is like a grain of truth to that because you can consume 300 calories very easily, if you don't consume those calories, then you're cutting into body fat. And so that's what we're going to be working on is going to be the diet side of things, keeping that in check so that your exercise, all those steps, all those workouts that we were doing is going to be helping you shrink and helping you not fit in your clothes anymore. This is something that I don't actually do with my clients. So this is just going to be for you. And so because this is like a challenge, like we're going all in, and I should mention, this is not something that I necessarily think you should sustain forever, this level of activity, 5 days a week of cardio, 12,000 steps a day. We're starting to get into some like crazy numbers. But let's say it's like a 12-month like transformation thing. That's what I do with a lot of the people that come onto the app and train with me on the app is, hey, we're going to hit this hard and you're going to learn these habits and you're going to get a great result and therefore be able to carry that forward. So with this particular video and what I'm going to be challenging you to is actually eating single ingredient foods for the first week, because I think this is really going to help you drop the pounds pretty quickly. Whenever you don't have recipes, and I'm going to talk about recipes. I think recipes are key. I push my recipe book. It is totally free. I'm about to talk about that in a second. I absolutely love it. But with that said, if you are eating single ingredient foods, you're going to tend to eat less. So what that looks like is like a chicken breast, sweet potato, and green beans, something like that. If that is your dinner plate, the chances of you overeating on that are pretty slim. Now, I'm not saying you can't make that good. You can't make that, with hot sauce or, maybe really low calorie dressing or something like that. Something to, low sugar, ketchup. You can enhance the flavor, but if your breakfast is an egg and a plain bowl of oatmeal with, some cinnamon, that is going to be a pretty good breakfast to get you going for the day, and you're not going to tend to overeat that like you would maybe a breakfast sandwich that is going to be in my recipe book. So after the first week, then I would move to recipes because I do not expect a person to be eating chicken breast and potatoes and a vegetable every single meal. I mean, you can. If you enjoy it, then by all means, that's going to be a great way of going about it. But I'm a big believer in recipes. My recipe book is totally free. I'm going to leave the pinned comment as the link to my recipe book as well as in the description. So go ahead and grab that. You add to my email list and then I'll send it to you. It is a great resource. People have been giving me a lot of good feedback on it, how much they love it. There's macaroni and cheese in there. Everything's high protein, and for the volume of food you're getting, it's relatively low calorie. It is low calorie. If you're not used to eating a bunch of food, a lot of these portions are going to be even higher for you. Like these are meal prep size portions in my recipe book. And so it'll make 8, 9, or 10. You might have to cut that in half if you just can't eat that much food. But especially like I eat 400, 500 calories in, a single meal. If you're more like 300, 400 calories, you might even have to cut that in half just to not have too much food. So that's a good problem to have if you're like, I can't eat all this food. So this is very filling. There's lasagna in there. There's things like that. It's delicious recipe. So go ahead and grab that. So for the purposes of this challenge, for the purposes of this video of like going all in for like 12 weeks is what I would put, the general rule of thumb on it. Eat only from my recipe book or single ingredient foods because I don't have a lot of breakfast items in there. I might not even have any right now. I need to do that. But it's mainly dinners. So like for, your lunch, you can have the leftovers of the dinners for lunch, and then for breakfast, just eat like a protein bar or whatever, single ingredient food. So either single ingredient foods or from my recipe book. That is going to get you miles ahead of the competition. Okay, so if you're eating from my recipe book or you're eating single ingredient foods, it should be pretty easy to food log. So I want you to download MyFitnessPal or whatever, app you want to use. MyFitnessPal seems to be the most robust, if you will. Like they have the biggest database. Download that, start tracking your calories. Go online and calculate your TDEE, that's your total daily energy expenditure, and subtract like 1,000 from that. Now remember, your movement has already picked up. So if you're like, I am starving, if you have food on your mind all the time, you might have to increase those calories. Remember, speed, you will not be fast here at losing weight if you end up gaining it back or you're suffering the entire time. So, to make a video for the general population is kind of tricky. If one of my clients told me that how hungry they were, I would tell them, hey, we got to add calories. And so I'm going to be telling you that if you're really hungry and you're being honest with yourself and you're just like always thinking about food, then you got to add calories. You're going to get there really quick. It doesn't necessarily have to be in 12 weeks, okay? What if it was 6 months? What if it was 8 months? And you're still buying a new wardrobe? How fun would that be? I want you to succeed, and I want you to permanently succeed. So be willing to add in some calories. But go ahead and take away 1,000 calories from your TDEE, and as long as it's still above like 1,500, 1,400, somewhere around there, then go ahead and try it. Give it a try. The worst thing that can happen, you're not going to starve. If it reminds me of what is that? My 600-Pound Life, that Dr. Howe or I think it's Dr. Howe. He's like, you're not going to starve. You don't eat a few meals. And so it's going to be okay. But you got to be honest with yourself. You can't keep that up for like 12 weeks or whatever if you're really, really hungry. If you don't already have a food scale, I would highly recommend getting one because it's really going to help you, especially with their single ingredient foods like measuring out 4 ounces of chicken or whatever. But that is how my recipe book is so helpful, is the recipes in there. Let's say it's lasagna is not good because not a good example. You cut that in, ninths or eighths or whatever. And so it's more like slices. But let's say with my white chicken chili, I think the grams on that is like 375. So all you do, don't quote me on that, look in the recipe book. But all you do is you put the big container of white chicken chili on the scale, press tare, now it says 0, right? And you scoop it out and into your bowl until it says minus 375. Or you can put the bowl in there and scoop it in there until it says plus 375. Either way, you don't have to really measure much of anything besides the grams. It's so easy and it's kind of already taken care of for you. And then you just put that in MyFitnessPal. Okay, so you're going for 1 gram per pound of body weight, of your ideal body weight in protein. And so we're going to be trying to get more protein in order to spare that muscle, potentially even build muscle, which is a really cool effect whenever you're brand new to exercise or getting back into it. It is possible in a calorie deficit, even if you have a lot of weight to lose, even in a pretty big calorie deficit, that your body will gain muscle despite you being in a calorie deficit. It takes calories to build that muscle. So where do you think that comes from? That's going to be coming from your body fat, so like you could really be losing a lot and improving your metabolism, improving your health, not just shriveling away. Now remember, you have to be honest with yourself, and if you're starving and you're really weak in the gym and you can't sleep or you're super lethargic or tired, then you got to add calories. But it is possible that you're also going to be building muscle and feeling really good. So protein, 1 gram per pound of your ideal body weight. Let's say that you're like 250 pounds and you want to be 200 pounds. I would eat somewhere close to 200 grams of protein, if not a little bit over, 210. It has a high thermic, I always get that wrong. Thermic effective food, TEF, meaning it burns calories simply eating the protein. About 30%, 25-30% of the calories you eat from protein are used to digest the very protein that you ate. So it's like free calorie burn. Again, we're increasing that calorie burn even more from a different angle, and that's what's really going to help you really shed all this weight. Protein is also the best macronutrient for keeping you full. Imagine eating a chicken breast versus even a potato, which is extremely high on the satiety scale for carbs. Even a chicken breast is going to be, harder to eat than a potato. But take the, lower satiety foods such as like rice. Nothing wrong with rice. I have rice in a lot of my recipes, but it's just overloaded with protein on top of that to help you feel more full. But imagine eating a chicken breast versus a plate of just noodles or just rice. It would be very easy to finish the rice compared to the chicken breast or a steak or whatever. And so that protein is going to help you keep full, going to help you go longer between meals. Not that that's necessary, don't focus on that too much, but I'm just saying you're going to naturally eat less, therefore increasing this, now you're starting to see how this snowball could really roll into you getting amazing progress with the system. As I mentioned earlier, it is going to help you keep muscle and possibly even build muscle, keeping your metabolic rate. By the end of your fat loss journey, if your metabolic rate has dropped because you've lost a bunch of muscle, you're either going to have to continue to eat like a bird, somehow keep up that level of low calories while trying to build that muscle back, or typically what happens is a person ends up gaining a bunch of fat back, allowing them to kind of reset on their muscle. They will end up gaining that muscle back just because that's what they had before with everyday life. And then, they end up being fine. I really don't think most people permanently damage their metabolism, but it's you're naturally going to have to gain that weight back or, do something drastic in order to get that muscle back. So let's just keep it in the first place. You're going to love your shape by the end. Instead of you having to get clothes that are smaller and you're like, man, I still kind of feel kind of skinny fat, you'll actually be popping from the shirts a little bit, popping from the jeans or whatever a little bit. As for carbs and fats, with my clients, I really just kind of let them fall how that falls. I tend to be I never realized this about myself until I really started tracking meticulously, like, 3-4 years ago. I tend to be a fat and protein person. It's really easy for me to consume those. By the end of the day, I'm usually like, what pure protein? I'm eating a banana just to try and, not pure protein, pure carb. I'm eating a banana just to try and get my carbs. Carbs for me, you don't have to have carbs. If you love keto, that is an option. But for me, the pumps in the gym, the way my muscles feel, the strength the energy that I have is way better whenever I have carbs. So I actually struggle to get my carbs. But let them fall however they're going to fall, especially during this process. If you tend to lean higher fat and protein like I do, just let that happen. As long as your protein's in check, let the others fall in, wherever they fall. With that said, if your fat is getting below 60 grams per day, 50 grams if you're a smaller person, maybe female, 5'3" or something like that, I don't know, somewhere around there, then, you got to try and get that fat up. That's pretty easy to get fat up. If you just need, a handful of almonds will usually get you above where you need to go. But just make sure you're getting enough fat for your hormone health and everything like that. Even with all that in place, there's some hard to hear facts that as long as you're prepared for, will prevent you from absolutely failing, because most people are going to fail whenever they run into these. I have a list of them right here so I don't forget. So you're going to fall. Something is going to come up. The Super Bowl was just recently. Right around the corner is some sort of holiday, some sort of birthday, I'm sure. There's probably a wedding sometime this year for you. And then if not, then you're going to hit the holidays, and then that's going to derail you. So let yourself know and be okay with, there's going to be periods of this year where I am not going to be able to focus on actually progressing. But maintaining and not gaining weight is pretty easy whenever you let yourself maintain. It's whenever you must progress or you can't bounce up and down on the scale. That's whenever it really starts to affect you. Okay. So just know there's going to be times where you're going to back up 2 or 3 pounds. Who cares? If you're losing 30 pounds and then you gain 3 pounds back during the holidays, you're 27 pounds down. Just go again. I promise you're going to reach all of your goals extremely quickly. I also want to encourage you with small things like a single meal, and I'm not big on cheat meals. I'm big on enjoying your diet so much that you don't really need cheat meals. That's what the cookbook's about. But if you go out for your anniversary, the Super Bowl, the holidays, even if it's a week stretch of just kind of garbage meals, as long as it's not literally everything you eat, you're going to be fine. In the grand scheme of things, it is so hard to tell. Several times with my clients, I'll actually bring this up to them. I'm like, hey, whenever they reach their goal of 50 pounds, 75 pounds lost, I usually work with people that have a whole lot of weight to lose. 20 and 30 pounds as well. But whenever they reach their goal, I'll usually try to remind them because I want to prepare them for the future. Hey, you remember whenever you went to that wedding and you felt so bad, you came back, you were 5 pounds heavier? And I'll actually show them their graph. And I'm like, can you find that without looking at the dates, cover up the dates or whatever? Can you find that on this graph? And they can't even find it. The point of that is that in the up-down nature of a graph, but it's mostly down, it's hard to find that weekend that you binged a little bit. Okay, so it's just not a big deal. Just move on. Don't let a weekend turn into a week and a month and a year, and then nothing will come of it. Even though this video is about going quickly and really hitting it, it is hitting it in a controlled way where almost as if you were my client. I'm kind of giving you this plan. Hey, this is going to be our plan. We're going to really hit this. But avoid the temptation to press even harder. Let's say that you have a bad meal or you kind of fall off plan a little bit. Avoid the temptation to say, you know what, I'm just not going to eat the rest of the day. It'll make up for it. Don't make up for it. Don't crash into those negative feelings. I'm telling you, you're going to be even hungrier, and then you're going to eat something, and then you're going to feel even more guilt. I'm sure you've been here before. We don't want that spiral to start. So just move on. This relates so much to the last point. Just move on. If you move on, it's literally going to mean nothing. At the end of this 12 weeks, I would highly encourage a diet break, and I would encourage you to get good at these diet breaks. If you go down and then maintain and down and then maintain and down and then maintain, how many of these are you going to need? 3 or 4 tops, and you're going to reach your goal? That's going to be in a year. Can you imagine taking a year and reaching everything you've ever tried to over the last 5 years because you keep regaining it back? That is amazing. That is fast, And whenever I say fast on my YouTube videos, I'm trying to increase my skill of this is fast, and I'm not lying to you whenever I say 12 weeks or 6 months is fast. A year is fast compared to, I think it was a recent video I did where one of the guys on there, or one of the guys that I saw in a Facebook group, he literally lost 6 pounds over the course of a year because he just kept gaining it back. If he just would have done everything in this video, especially at the end here, just, hey, slow down, it's cool. He would have been, I think he said he had 30 pounds to lose. He would have easily reached his goal. And so what's faster, gaining it all back or, taking 6 months to do it? It's obvious it's going to be the 6 months. And then last thing is, like, seriously, you might have to go get new clothes. And I know it's like a funny problem to have, but it is a problem. Like, it is kind of expensive to lose a bunch of weight. At least it kind of feels like it, but it is fun. It's a way of kind of rewarding yourself for your hard work. I encourage you, I don't know, this is tricky. Different clients are different, but I don't like when people hold on to their old clothes. I don't like whenever they hold on to, well, what if I gain it back? No, you're not going to gain it back. You're going to come to me and I'm going to give you some advice, watch my videos. Like, you will not gain this back. Okay. I got you. So don't worry about that. Don't keep your old clothes. Get rid of them.